I am Jessica Wells. I'm an extension instructor in the Department of Poultry Science, and we will be starting the chain project with this video that you're currently watching. I'd like to thank anyone that is tuning in for having the want to do this project, and we are excited as the Department of Poultry Science and Extension Service. I'd like to thank anyone that is going to participate, and I hope you all enjoy it. So with that being said, let's get started. This seminar is basically an introduction on what the chain project is and what the participants will be in charge of, what their responsibilities will be, as well as the agents. So this is the Poultry Chain Project Seminar, and again, my name is Jessica Wells. You can refer to me if you have any questions. So what is the 4-H Poultry Chain Project? This is supposed to be a fun activity that will educate participants on the importance of raising livestock and how to manage this livestock in a humane manner as well as efficiently. The good thing about poultry and why this chain project is going to be so good for 4-H participants is that it's a low-cost livestock and it's very easy to manage. It'll be good on farms and residents that only have a couple of acres and can't maintain a huge amount of livestock. It will also be cheap and inexpensive for the 4-H participants that do this, and it's open for juniors and seniors, so any participants between the ages of 8 to 18 are eligible to participate, and we are eager to have all of them participate. They will compete at the county and state level, juniors and seniors both. So how does this project work? After completion of training, your local extension agent for your county will order birds and have them delivered between June 4th through the 8th. So that's an entire week, and it's up to the county agent to decide what day during that week they would like to have chicks delivered to their office. Now, remember, as a parent, there are going to be many of you competing, so one day might not be great for everybody, but that's up to your agent to see what works best for everyone. So please be patient in this process. You need to contact your hatchery prior to ordering, so parents or agents need to go ahead and contact a hatchery and see when to place their order in order to receive birds on the 4th through the 8th. Now, all hatcheries are going to hatch at different times, and I will give you a list of hatcheries in this, the last slide, that will let you know who we're going to order from, and you can select any one of those hatcheries. We are ordering a black sex-linked female. Now remember, this is a sex-linked female. We do not want males and females in this project. So if you go online and you see straight run, that is not what you want. Straight run means that you're going to get a mix of males and females, and we do not want males in this competition. We want all females so that everybody has the same judging criteria. I suggest that when you do contact your hatcheries, even if you feel like their web page is straightforward and you know what you're ordering, contact them by phone and make sure that you're ordering the correct thing, because if you don't get the right chicks, then your participant may not get to participate because it's going to delay them having the correct chicks. This black sex-linked female we chose because she's a cross between a Rhode Island Red and a Barred Rock female. This is a good dual-purpose bird, so not only will it be good for egg purposes, but it will also be good for meat-type purposes. So the kids can use this for either purpose that they would like as a backyard bird. With it being a cross, it's going to be a little more resistant to disease, so it'll be better in a backyard setting. And they actually make a pretty bird. I'll have a picture next of what your birds will look like once they're of age. These birds will need to be wing banded before the 4-Hers pick them up. This band will ID the birds, all 20 birds, with that student. So I need a list of the student's name, the number on every one of their 20 birds, and their address. This information is crucial for me to keep up with, and it's also important for Betty Roberts, who is over our State Board Poultry Division, and you'll have all of her contact information in your packets. she needs this so that the kids can get NPIP certified. That is the National Poultry Improvement Plan, and they will get certified through this project at their county level fair. They will get swabbed. They usually band the birds on their own at this time, but it will be easier for us to go ahead and get the information in if we band these as chicks, and she can use those numbers. So those numbers are very crucial, and it is important for the county agent to get these numbers done and into me. So this is a picture of your black sex link. You can see that the male pretty much looks like your barred rock, and your female has a little bit of barring on the chest here, and she's really kind of a reddish color. You can't really see it great in this picture, but she's a reddish black color. She makes a very pretty hen. The chicks are basically black and will have a small dot located on the top of the head. And these chicks can actually be sexed as chicks, so we can tell the males and females apart, which is good, and another reason we chose this breed, because we can separate males and females. So participants are expected, everyone participating, once you pick up your chicks, those chicks are now your responsibility, and it's your responsibility until you come to your county or state fair. So you're going to be in charge of brooding these chicks, which is basically the chick stage where you're going to keep them warm, keep them healthy and fed. You're going to vaccinate these chicks, and we'll go over what vaccinations you're going to be in charge of. You're going to document all of your daily records. You are going to maintain a healthy, sound flock until your competition. So if you place in the first or second place at your county level, you'll maintain this flock a little longer and come to your state contest. You will participate in the county fair. So if you sign up for this, you will sign a waiver at the end of this seminar that states that you are going to participate to your fullest capacity, and that includes participating at the county level. You also need to follow all guidelines and rules of the chain project. So that's not only rules that I will talk about in this seminar, but it's also going to be the rules that your extension agent in your local county give you. So participants will select, out of the 20 chicks that they receive, they'll select their top 6 in order to show at a county fair. The fair will be between September 4th through the 23rd. So that's a 3-week period that the counties can have their fairs. I allotted a 3-week window so that it's up to the county agent to decide what day that fair will be on, what works best for your county. A lot of counties have asked if they can piggyback one another and have maybe 3 to 4 counties participate in one fair, and that is perfectly fine, but I still need a first and second place for each county. So the kids within the county need to be judged separately, even if you have one big fair. I also separated this out so that county agents can help one another. So if they'd like for one county to be a judge for their fair, they can, and then vice versa. After that fair, the next county can have one, and that county agent can maybe be a judge. Otherwise, if you'd like to find outside judges, even if somebody doesn't have a whole lot of poultry background, they can still judge in this. That's a lot of the reason why 50% of this is going to be on record keeping. So I think anyone can kind of look at a book and be able to judge on the criteria of the book. As far as the birds go, I will give a list of criteria to look for and kind of how to judge those birds. So if you do have someone that doesn't have a whole lot of knowledge of poultry, they will get a detailed sheet that tells them how to judge that bird. Juniors and seniors should be judged separately. So you should have a grand champion and a reserve for your junior level and your senior level. Counties can compete together, like I said, and it'll be a 50-50 record keeping and bird. These birds will be auctioned. I had a lot of people ask if the kids can keep their birds, and I know that you'll fall in love with these birds, but this project is to teach the importance of livestock. So even though there are 2 portions to the industry, I do want to see the kids to see that egg industry, and that's why they're keeping some of these birds at home to raise eggs off of. But I also want them to see the importance of the livestock and that these birds are rendered for food. So I want them to be able to sell 6 of their birds. all of the profit from these birds will go back to the 4-H participant. So whatever they make off of those birds, that is their own profit. And I think that's the importance of livestock, is to see the reward at the end of the project. Now, some of the participants were a little turned off on this, and if they're really adamant about keeping their birds, I think they need to get grandparents there to buy their birds off of them and I guess keep it in the family. There will be trophies and cash prizes awarded to the top 2. Everyone will receive a certificate of completion of the chain project and a ribbon based on their participation. The top 2 will advance to state. So with that being said, your grand champion and your reserve will keep their birds, not auction them off at the county level. They will bring those birds back to the state level. They don't have to bring the same 6 birds. I put that in there because if for some reason something happens in the 4-week period before the state fair, they can bring other birds if something happened to one of the 6 birds. But they're more than welcome to bring the same 6 to that competition. So the state competition will be a 1-day competition. It will be held on October 20th. Our plans right now are to have that at the Raymond Extension Center. In the future, we would like to get this into the state fair, but for this year, just to see how everything goes, we're going to have this at a different location and hopefully at the Raymond Extension Center. If it's not at the Raymond Extension Center, it will be somewhere near and close to central Mississippi, so that it's kind of a central location for everyone to transport to. Transportation of these birds is kind of up to y'all. Some people asked me in the previous seminars how I'm supposed to transport these birds. I've seen them transported in dog carriers. That's basically kind of up to you, but it needs to be done in a humane manner. Juniors and seniors can participate at the state level and will participate at the state level. We will award a state champion and a state reserve, and there will be cash prizes and trophies for these participants. All of these birds will then be auctioned off. So they kept their birds at the county level, they will come to their state fair, and all of those birds will be auctioned off at the state fair. So where are we beginning? So where are the kids going to begin with this project? We're going to begin with brooding chicks. So you've got to set up a time to pick up your chicks from your agent. That's up to your county, your individual county. You need to have a pen for your brooding period. Do not pick your chicks up and not have a pen ready. You need to have that pen built and ready for chicks. You need to have it heated up and all the litter about 90 degrees before your chicks arrive on your property. They're going to need about 1 foot per chick. So that's 20 square feet. That's going to be about a 4 by 5 foot pen. Now it can be a little smaller when you first get them. The only downfall to that is that these chicks are going to grow pretty rapidly, and if you use a smaller pen, that's just one more pen you're going to have to build before you transition them into their maintenance type pen. You're going to need a rough flooring. We use pine shavings, and I have pine shavings in the aquarium here where these chicks are on the table, but I'm not going to say that you have to use pine shavings. You can use whatever you need, but it needs to be a rough surface. If it's not a rough surface, the chicks will slip on it and they can tear that tendon in the leg. If they tear that tendon, they're pretty much going to have to be rendered. They can't really come back from that. So you need to make sure, it's crucial that they have some kind of rough surface to be on. You're going to need a heat source. Your heat source can be anything that you choose. I have a heat lamp, which is from Walmart, just a couple of dollars, and it has a regular fluorescent bulb in it. I have one here, a little smaller, but it can be anything. Your co-op sells some radiant heat lights, just some different things, but that's up to you. That's your choice on what you use. You need to start about 90 degrees at chick level. Now remember, heat rises, so what it feels like at our temperature is not necessarily what it's going to feel like at their temperature. So you need to make sure that that floor level is heated up enough for them. Now I understand that these heat lamps, I can't just adjust the temperature like we can on our thermostat at home, but you need to have it as close to 90 degrees as you can. And you're going to drop that drop it by 5 degrees each week until you reach 70 degrees. So that's a total of 4 weeks of brooding these chicks. And that's the most crucial thing that I want you to see, is that there's a 4-week period. So even if the temperature is not exactly what I said, they still need to be brooded in this pen for about 4 weeks. As far as the nutrition that's going to be necessary for these chicks, you want an unlimited supply of food and water. When you first get to that county office to pick your chicks up and bring them home, it's very important that they have a water source first. So you might want to put a water source in their pen for an hour before you put food in. With that being said, the reason for it is that these chicks will go straight to the food, and if they don't have a water source, they may be a little dehydrated already. If they eat that food, it can cause them to choke because they're already dehydrated and they don't have water in their system. So feed them a water source first, and then put your food down for after an hour or so. Starter feed, you need about 22 to 24% protein, and you're going to feed this up to 6 weeks. So even after you move them out of the brooding phase, you're still going to feed that starter feed for 2 weeks, a total of 6 weeks. I recommend getting some type of starter feed that's through your feed store or co-op or Tractor Supply, something like that. There's numerous brands that you can buy, but as long as it's a starter feed, it should have all the nutrients that that chick needs. There should be no reason to supplement anything else. I get asked a lot if I could put scratch feed or chops out. It's not necessary. That's money that you don't have to spend on this project. If you buy a already pre-made starter feed, it should have all the nutrients that those chicks need in it. So these are just a couple of pictures of some different brooding. I want you to see here that anything can be used. There's no specific set way to brood a chick. So of course, this one on the bottom, it's a little too small for what we have here, but it will work. You know, we just have here, if you'll notice, there's a wire top on the top, and I also have a wire top here. That's important because this is going to be hot. I've only had this light on for a little while and it's already too hot to touch. Now it's important that they have that guard on the top, because especially if you have this on an indoor setting, I would hate for that light to fall onto that litter and catch heat. So it's important to have something on the top that kind of keeps your heat source from falling into your pen. You can see up here, if you can't tell, this is actually a watering trough for cattle or horses, and they've converted it into a pen for chicks. Again, whatever works. If you have something around your house that's about the right dimensions, go ahead and use it. You don't have to spend money on something elaborate. It can be whatever you want to use. So here's some pictures of some different chicks that are in the brooding phase. And with this, I want you to see that you're going to have to be observant, and that's important for kids. They need to watch their flock and be observant and be able to tell whether that temperature is right or not. You don't necessarily have to have a thermometer at the ground level to be able to tell if those chicks are getting enough heat or not. So in this top picture here, you can see that they're all huddled together. So that would tell me that those chicks are too cold. You might need to lower your heat source or do something, maybe add a second heat source. Maybe your pen's too big and they're getting too far away from your heat source and can't find their way back. You know, that's something else to think about. So these birds here, they're all sleeping right around that temp. That's probably fine. But something I want you to see here is if you had a heat source like this and all the birds were spread out into the sides, that's probably telling you that those chicks are getting too hot and that you have too much heat in that pen. Now this down here, that tells me that I've got some happy chicks. They're all feeding, they're drinking, they're up and moving about, and that's what we want to see. We want to see active chicks that seem happy. Now these chicks should not be noisy, and if you've noticed with my chicks here that I have, you don't hear a whole lot of noise out of them, and that's important. With 20 chicks, you should not hear a whole lot of noise. If they're being noisy, it's just like an infant. There's a reason for them being noisy, and that usually means they're upset for some reason. So you shouldn't hear a whole lot of noise. If you do, that should mean that something's wrong and you're doing something improperly. So it's usually, you know, it's more up to the kids to be able to watch those chicks and know if there's a problem. And that's something that could go in their record book. You know, if they observe some different behaviors out of the chicks and they realize that, record it in your record book. Take some pictures, put some pictures in there by what you observed. So after your 4-week period, after we finish the brooding phase, now we're going to get into maintaining that flock from there on out. You do not need a heat source. It's not necessary, and even in the winter months, we are going to be in the summer, so of course we don't need a heat source for these birds. It's going to be plenty hot enough outside. You don't necessarily have to have a heat source over the winter months either if it's a full-grown bird. You can supplement with a heat source, but it is not necessary. As far as litter, it is optional. If you're going to be in an outdoor setting, having them on the grass is fine. I do recommend that if you're going to have them on the ground, that you do add in a coccidiostat in your feed. And you can find those mixed in on your feed source. If it's a pre-mixed bag, it'll have on there coccidiostats present. Your nutrients for this, they need to have an unlimited supply of food and water. Now you can feed twice a day if you'd like to, but they need to have ample amounts of food, and of course they need to have water at all times, and it needs to be a clean water source. You know, you need to clean your water out every now and then. This rim can get kind of yucky, so you need to make sure you clean that out every now and then. You're going to want to feed an 18 to 20% grower feed up to 14 weeks. So from that 6-week period that I stopped starter feed up to 14 weeks, I'm going to feed a grower feed. Once I finish the 14-week period, I'm going to move on to a layer or finisher feed. These are layer pellets usually, and you're going to feed this for 14 weeks until the end of the bird's lifespan. And that's going to be about a 16 to 18% protein feed. Another thing to think about is they do offer a mash feed and they offer a pelleted feed. I recommend the pelleted feed or the crumbles as far as a starter feed, because the birds won't waste as much with the pellets, so you're not putting a lot of money into it that's not necessary. And in order to get that pellet, they have to go through a heat process. This heat process will break down your carbohydrates a little better, and it's a lot easier for the chicks to digest. So the pellets are actually a lot better for your chick, and it's a lot better for you because it's not wasting a lot of your money with spillage. So with your pen for these birds, you want 3 square feet per bird. Now I said you could go a little smaller with the chicks. You cannot go smaller with the full adult females that you're going to have. You have to have that 3 square feet. If you don't allot those birds at least 3 square feet, you're going to run into problems. These birds will get cannibalistic, they'll start fighting and pecking one another, and your pen's just more likely to get really, really nasty within a short amount of time if they don't have the space they need. So 3 square feet per bird with 20 birds is going to be about 60 square feet per flock. And an example of this is a 6 by 10 foot pen. You're also going to need nest boxes for these hens, and you can allot 4 birds per nest box. So even though you're going to see a lot of these hens pile on one another and not use all those nest boxes, they need to have access to at least 1 nest box per 4 birds. You do not have to have a nest box for each bird, but you need about 4 birds per nest box. Make sure that your pen is safe from predators and the elements. So you need them safe from wind and water, and you also need them safe from all your predators that are outside. There are predators on the ground, there's going to be predators on the sides of your pen, and there's also going to be predators in the air. One of the main things we see are hawks that will get chickens, and they can still get full-grown chickens. So even if it's something as simple as a blue tarp placed on top of your pen, there needs to be some kind of resistance to something getting in the top of that pen. As far as your ground and side levels, you can use chicken wire. Some people will use a hot wire at the ground level, but it needs to be something that keeps them safe. In your nest box area, I recommend having something other than the chicken wire, because this is going to be where your hens are going to sit, and this is where they're going to be sleeping. So if you have a raccoon or something that might not be able to get through the wire, but his hands can get through the wire, they'll actually get chickens that way with their hands. So in your nest box area, I would have a solid wall behind the nest box. If you'd like to pick up eggs without going in your nesting area, maybe have a latch system that you can open and get your eggs out from the outside of the pen. So here's a few examples of different types of pens. You can see up here, all this is a pre-made chain link dog pen, and that works perfectly fine. We see it a lot. It's already got your door fixed in, it's got your 4 sides, you get whatever size you need, and you throw a tarp over the top and you have a chicken pen. It's very inexpensive, cheap, and it doesn't take a whole lot of maintenance to put one together. Now these over here are your tractor pens that everyone talks about now. They're set on wheels, and a lot of people like them because if the chickens start to mess the grass up that they're sitting on, you can pick them up and move them to a new location, and they have a nice clean area that you don't have to worry about them killing your grass. It has somewhere for the chickens to lay and to roost, and then it has their outdoor setting here too.